I was in seat 24A, window seat, left side of the plane. I always book the window seat because I like watching the world get small beneath me. There's something about altitude that makes your problems feel manageable, like when you're high enough, everything that was suffocating you on the ground suddenly looks like nothing. Just tiny little squares of land and thin silver rivers and clouds that look soft enough to sleep on. I was 26 years old. I was flying from New York to London for a job interview, a marketing firm in Canary Wharf. I had been unemployed for 7 months, and this interview was the first real door that had opened, and I was terrified and exhausted and running on 2 hours of sleep and a gas station coffee that had gone cold somewhere over Newfoundland. I had my headphones in. I was watching a movie I can't even remember now. Something loud and forgettable. The woman next to me was asleep, with a neck pillow shaped like a horseshoe. The man in the aisle seat was typing on a laptop. Everything was ordinary. Everything was the way it always is at cruising altitude. That strange suspended normalcy where you forget you're hurtling through the sky in a metal tube at 500 miles an hour. And then I looked out the window. I don't know why I looked. I wasn't thinking about the sky. I wasn't thinking about anything. I just turned my head to the left, the way you do without meaning to, the way your body sometimes moves before your mind catches up. And I saw it. It was not lightning. I need you to understand that clearly, because lightning was the first word my brain reached for, and it was wrong. Lightning flashes and dies. Lightning is violent and white and urgent. This was none of those things. This was a light that was completely still. Off in the distance, level with our wing, maybe half a mile away, though distance is meaningless up there, in the dark, over the ocean. It was a warm light, a calm, steady, breathing light, like something that had always been there and had simply decided to let itself be seen. I pulled my headphones out. I pressed my forehead against the cold plastic of the window. And that was when it happened. The thing that I have tried to describe to people ever since, and failed every single time, because language was not built for this. The feeling came from inside me, not from the light, from somewhere underneath my ribs, somewhere I had never felt anything before. A pressure, no, not a pressure, a weight, no, not a weight either. A presence, like something enormous and completely gentle had turned its full attention toward me. Not toward the plane, not toward the sky, toward me, toward this specific, sleep-deprived, frightened, small young woman in seat 24A with cold coffee and a resume she was terrified wasn't good enough. I felt seen, completely, totally, absolutely seen. Every year of my life was present in that moment, not like a memory, more like a reckoning. Every time I had been unkind and pretended not to be. Every time I had been lonely and pretended not to be. Every time I had looked at the world and felt that something was missing, something I couldn't name, something I had tried to fill with productivity and ambition and relationships that never quite fit. All of it was suddenly, staggeringly clear. The missing thing had a name. I didn't know it yet, but I felt it. The light stayed for what I now believe was about 40 seconds. Then it was gone. The sky was dark again. The engines hummed. The man in the aisle seat was still typing. The woman with the horseshoe pillow was still asleep. No one else had seen anything. And I sat in seat 24A, shaking so hard my knees were hitting the seat in front of me, with tears coming down my face that I could not explain and did not try to. I didn't sleep for the rest of the flight. I landed in London. I got into a cab. I sat in the back seat watching the grey English morning outside the window and thought, what was that? What just happened to me? I was not a religious person. I had grown up in a household that treated faith the way you treat a distant relative, acknowledged at Christmas, otherwise ignored. I believed in therapy and hard work, and the occasional crystal that a friend gave me that I kept on my dresser without expecting anything from it. I believed in being a good person in a vague, undefined way that required nothing specific of me. I had never, not once in 26 years, had a conversation with God. And yet, in seat 24A, at 34,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean, I felt, without any doubt whatsoever, that something greater than me had spoken. I didn't go to the interview. I know how that sounds. I know. 7 months of unemployment and one open door, and I sat in a hotel room in London instead, with my laptop open, searching for things I couldn't even properly name. What is the light some people see? Religious experiences in flight, feeling watched by something greater. Divine presence reported in near-death experiences. None of it matched. All of it circled the edges of what I had felt without ever touching it. And then, I still don't know exactly how, because that night my searching took me down so many different paths. I found a verse. I found it on a small website, barely formatted, and it stopped my breath. And he is with you wherever you are. That was all. 8 words, and I completely fell apart, because that was it. That was the exact, precise, impossible description of what I had felt in that window seat. Not near me, not watching from a distance, with me in my fear and my exhaustion and my inadequacy and my 7 months of feeling like I was failing at my own life. With me at 34,000 feet when I was too tired to pretend anymore. I started reading the Quran that night, not because someone told me to, not because I was looking for a religion, because I was looking for that feeling, and this book seemed to know about it. And I want to be honest with you. I resisted it. I read it looking for the moment it would say something that would let me put it down and go back to my normal life. I kept waiting to disagree. I kept waiting to feel the way I felt in philosophy class, detached and clever and unconvinced. It never came. Instead, page after page, something inside me kept saying, yes, this is true. I don't know how I know, but I know. By 4 a.m. I was sitting cross-legged on the hotel bed in London with the Quran app on my phone, surrounded by tissues, completely unable to explain to myself or anyone else what was happening to me. I messaged my friend Layla the next morning. Layla was Muslim, had been her whole life born into it, and she was one of those people whose faith I had always respected from a distance without ever asking about it, the way you admire someone's garden without ever asking what they plant or how they tend it. I sent her a long, rambling voice note at 5 in the morning, London time, that started with, I don't know how to say this, and ended 14 minutes later with me crying in a way I hadn't cried since I was a child. She called me back immediately. It was midnight where she was. She had been asleep. She listened to everything, every word. And then she said, quietly, without drama, in the same voice she uses when she's telling you something she absolutely means, I've been making dua for you for 3 years. I didn't know what dua was. She explained, supplication, prayer. She had been asking God, her God, the God she had known her whole life, to guide me. For 3 years, without ever telling me, without ever pushing, without ever making me feel like a project or a mission. Just quietly, in the night, asking for something for me that I hadn't known to ask for myself. I sobbed. I asked her what I needed to do. She told me I didn't need to do anything right now. She told me to just keep reading, keep asking, keep sitting with what I had felt. She said, Allah is not in a rush. He waited for you to be ready. I flew back to New York 4 days later. I had rescheduled the interview. They gave me another chance, and I got the job, but that is almost beside the point now. I spent the next 2 months reading, asking questions, visiting a mosque twice. Both times I sat in the back and said nothing, and just watched and felt that same quiet settle over me, that I had first felt at 34,000 feet. The second time I visited, a sister named Amira came and sat next to me. She didn't ask me anything. She just sat with me. After a while, she said, "How are you finding it here?" I said, "It feels like somewhere I was always supposed to be." She smiled. She said, "That's how a lot of us describe it." I took my Shahada on a Tuesday afternoon in early spring. The trees outside the mosque were just beginning to open. I was wearing a blue scarf Layla had sent me from overseas. She couldn't be there in person, so she sent the scarf and made me promise to send her a photo. There were 5 sisters in the room, a woman who spoke gently and clearly. And when I said the words, "Ashhadu alla ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah," I felt it again. The feeling from the window seat, the presence, the weight that was not heavy and the silence that was not empty, and the sense of being completely, utterly, mercifully known. Except this time it did not come and go. This time it settled into me like it intended to stay, like it had always been waiting for the moment I was ready to hold it properly. I think about that flight all the time now. I think about the woman in the horseshoe pillow who slept through the whole thing. I think about the man typing on his laptop. I wonder sometimes if they felt anything, a flicker, a shift in the air, anything, or if it was only for me, only for the frightened girl in seat 24A who needed, more than a job and more than sleep, and more than anything she could have named, to be reminded that she was not alone. I believe it was only for me. I believe that because I believe in a God who is precise, who does not send the same sign to every person on a plane and hope that someone notices, who knows which soul in which seat on which night is finally ready to look out the window, who has been watching, always watching, and choosing the exact right moment to say, "I am here. I have always been here, and I have always known you." If you are sitting somewhere right now feeling unseen, feeling lost, feeling like you are running on empty and the world is indifferent to your suffering, I want to tell you what I learned at 34,000 feet over the dark Atlantic Ocean. You are not unseen. You were never unseen. The one who made the sky knows exactly where you are sitting, and he is not distant. He is not indifferent. He is not a God who watches from far away with folded arms. He is with you, wherever you are.